Shalom, shalom, Israel. Everybody in the classroom, shalom. 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 We back at it again, another Sabbath service, giving our honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Yahawashi. Double honors to the elect elders of the house of David that's been in this truth for decades and decades, and patiently wait for the second coming of Yahawashi. A hearty shalom to you mighty men that go out there and labor and do the work of the Most High, presenting your body as a living sacrifice and enduring all things for the elect's sake. Shalom. Shalom to all of the men that may not be out there in the highways and byways as of yet, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, fasting, studying, being diligent and abounding in the work of the Lord. Shalom to all of the sisters out there, the Aqua, holding it down in the households, reverencing their husbands, being submissive, being diligent, and being as their righteous foremothers are. Shalom.
Shalom. Shabbat shalom. All praise to the Most High for another Sabbath service, another day of repentance, another day of working forth, getting those old works of the old man put back into the ground so we can magnify the name of Yahawashi. Right? As we always start off, we're going to start off in Acts chapter 18 and verse 4.
This is the book of Acts, chapter 18 and verse 4. And he reasoned in the synagogue every Sabbath and persuaded the Jews and the Greeks.
Right, another Sabbath so we can persuade Israel who knows that they're Israel to continue to endure, right, to magnify the name of the Lord, right, to continue in the faith, the brotherly love, the charity, and those who don't know that they're Israel to compel you to search the scriptures daily, right, come back to serving our God in truth and sincerity. And the only way we can do that is through Philippians 4:13.
It's the book of Philippians, chapter 4 and verse 13. And it reads, I can do all things through Hamashiach, which strengtheneth me.
Right, through the spirit of Yahawashi, we're able to go into these precepts, cast down all false doctrine, and stand strong and bold for the words of the Lord. Right? So, like the brother said, we're going into the many regenerations of Yahawashi. Right? Because this whole book, right, is Yahawashi. Right? So we're going to start off with Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and verse 10. Right? Ecclesiastes 6 and verse 10. Right? And it reads, that which hath been is named already, and it is known that it is man, neither may he contend with him that is mightier than he. Right? That which has already been, it's come back again. It's just a recycle of different spirits. Right? We're going to go through the many generations that Yahawashi has touched this earth. Right? His impact on each generation where he came down and touched the earth. Right? Yes,
yeah, and a quick point. Yahawashi, a lot of brothers, they'll believe that Yahawashi's first appearance is in Matthew chapter 1 or in Luke the first chapter, right? Like the Lord had to wait 4,000 years and now he appears on the earth. No, the Lord is all throughout the scriptures. Then the Lord said in Hebrews chapter 10 and 7, then said I, lo, I come in a volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will. Right? So the Lord is all throughout Genesis, even to Revelation. Right? This links up with Ecclesiastes chapter 6 and 10. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 15. Right? It reads, that which hath been is now, and that which is to be hath already been, and the Most High required that which is past. So we read in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, the thing that hath been is man. Right? So man has been here before, man will come back again, and man will continually come back, constantly. Just like the trees always, what? They pollinate, or the flowers pollinate, and the pollen regenerates, and the seeds regenerate, and you have the water cycle in the Bible, and you have they call it the circle of life. You've seen the damn Lion King. They call it the circle of life, because everything regenerates, right? And man, you regenerate. Everybody that's on the earth right now, you've been on the earth before. This isn't your first go around. It may be your first time in Baltimore or DC, but you were in Jerusalem, right, with the Lord. You know, you might have came from the land of Elam and keep Pentecost. You might have lived in Rome, right, like Priscilla and Aquila, or Italy. You know, you've been on the earth time in and time out. Same spirit, same mannerisms. You understand? You know?
God. So we're going to start in John chapter 8, right, in verse 56.
So, Melchizedek?
Yeah, let's do Melchizedek. Let's do Melchizedek first. Well, let's do it.
Oh, you got it. I was going to, no, we could have stayed in it. But I was saying, no, I want to let brothers know that we dealing with Melchizedek first, right? Melchizedek. So if you write your notes, you're dealing with the regenerations. The first one we're dealing with is Melchizedek. All right, well, then we'll go through it and let you know which one we're dealing with.
Let's go to Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 1. Right, Hebrews chapter 7 and verse 1. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High God, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him.
Right. Now, Melchizedek is somebody that's not mentioned too much throughout the Bible. Right? He's pretty much an omnious man or omnious figure. You only read about him in the time of Genesis chapter 14, one time in Psalms, and one time or a few times in the book of Hebrews. Right? Outside of that, you're not going to read too much about this man. Don't tell you his height, his weight. You don't have a genealogy. Right? You don't have no beginning of days nor end of life. Now, Melchizedek, in the book of Hebrews chapter 7, Paul is letting you know, the apostles let you know about something that happened with Abraham. Right? So let's go to Genesis chapter 14 and show you about Melchizedek and who this mysterious man is. In Genesis chapter 14 and we start at 16.
Genesis chapter 14 and verse 16. And he brought back all the goods and also brought again his brother Lot, his goods, and the woman also, and the people.
Actually, it's lucky. Let's start at 9.
9. Come. With Chemodomer, the king of Elam, and with title, king of nations, and Amorphael, king of Shinar, and Arioch, king of Elazar, 4 kings with 5.
Yeah, quick point. This is one of the first wars. You may call it World War I. That happened back then. You had a battle of 4 kings against 5 kings. This is a major war going on at the time. It's not a small deal going on. It's the first global war of its time. The battle of 4 kings against the 5. Right?
And the valley of Shittim was full of slime pits, and the king of Sodom and Gomorrah fled and fell there, and they that remained fled to the mountain. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Gomorrah and all their victuals and went their way. And they took Lot, Abram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and departed. And there came one that had escaped and told Abram the Hebrew, for he dwelt in the plains of Mamre, the Amorite brother of Eshcol, and the brother of Aner, and these were confederate with Abram. And when Abram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his trained servants born in his own house, 318, and pursued them unto Dan.
See that? So Abraham get down, man. Abraham has an army, right? 318 servants, and they're not guys that you just hire off the streets, man. These men are experts in war, trained servants. And Abraham had an armory. Where did he get all of these? How did he arm them? He had a storehouse of swords, battle axes, bows and arrows, little daggers, the little things that those guys throw, man. You know them ninjas, you watch them ninjas, they throwing them. Abraham had all of that, man. And he gave them to all of his armed servants, and he said, we're about to go get our brother Lot back. Right? He didn't say, well, let's call the police. There was no police back then. Right? You couldn't just file the missing persons report. Right? Verse 48. No, you gotta go get them back, man. If a brother if somebody come up and break in and snatch up a brother like Brother Lamont, guess what? We're gonna go get the brother, man. We're gonna shut everything down. We're gonna go hard. We're gonna go get the brother. We're gonna arm ourselves. We're gonna go do what we gotta do. You know.
Verse 15. He divided himself against them, and he and his servants by night, and smote them and pursued them unto Hobah, which is on the left hand of Damascus. And he brought back all the goods, and also brought again his brother Lot and his goods, and the woman also, and the people. And the king of Sodom went out to meet him after his return from the slaughter of Chemodomer, and the king that were with him at the valley of Sheol, which is the king's dale. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High Yahweh.
See that? So Melchizedek made Abraham with bread and wine, and he was a priest of the Most High God. This is before the Levitical priesthood is established. This is before Aaron, Phineas, or Eleazar, or Phineas, right? All of the priests of the Lord, we've already had a priest, but this is a different type of priest. Right? You're going to find out that this priest is Yahawashi, and he met him with bread and wine. Right? Why did he meet him with bread and wine? Right? Let's get a quick precept on that. Let's go to the book of Luke, chapter 22. He met him with bread and wine. He wasn't looking around the house. I don't have nothing to give Abraham. He just snatched up bread and wine. No, that's all through the Spirit. All right, we're going to go to the book of Luke, the 22nd chapter, and we're going to read we're going to start at 15. Right? Luke chapter 22 and verse 15. It reads, and he said unto them, with desire, I have desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer. For I said to you, I will not any more eat thereof until it be fulfilled in the kingdom of the Most High. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, take this and divide it among yourselves. So he took the wine cup and said, divide this wine amongst yourselves. Reading on. For I said to you, I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God shall come. And he took bread. So he had wine and he had bread, Yahawashi. And he took bread and gave thanks and brake it and gave unto them, saying, this is my body, which is given for you. This do in remembrance of me. So the same concept of Luke chapter 22 was applied at the time of Genesis, where the Lord made Abraham with the bread and with the wine. All right. And Melchizedek, his name, we got the Hebrew up here. We're going to have his name up here. But Melchizedek in the Hebrew is what? Malak Tazadak, which means king of righteousness. Right? Or you'll hear him say Malak Shalom, or the king of peace. That's what his name translates to. So this is not just, who's the king of righteousness? Yahawashi. It can't be no heathen man living in the land of Canaan. This is an actual son of man, Hamashiach Yahawashi, the king of righteousness.
Back to Genesis chapter 14 and verse 18 again. And Melchizedek, king of Salem, brought forth bread and wine, and he was the priest of the Most High Yahweh. He blessed him and said, blessed be Abram of the Most High Yahweh, possessor of heaven and earth, and blessed be the Most High Yahweh, which have delivered thine enemies into thy hand, and he gave him tithes of all.
See that? And that's another point. He gave him tithes of all. What is a tithe? How much? What the brother said. How much is a tithe? 10%. So Abraham took the women captive, took the gold, cattle, took everything captive, and he gave 10% of everything that he took captive in a war. He gave it to Yahawashi. Right? Why did he give it to this priest? Why did he pay this priest tithes? I thought we were only supposed to pay tithes to the Levitical priesthood, when you read all throughout Numbers and Deuteronomy. But it's showing you that Yahawashi is in fact a priest receiving tithes from Abraham. Right? Yes. Okay, kind of.
This is back to Hebrews chapter 7, and we're going to read verse 1 again. For this Melchizedek, king of Salem, priest of the Most High Yahweh, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all, first being by interpretation king of righteousness, and after that also king of Salem, which is king of peace, without father, without mother, without descent, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but made like unto the son of Yahweh, abideth a priest continually.
Yeah, quick point. So you know this not no mortal man. He didn't have no father or no mother. There was no genealogy of kings that Melchizedek came from. Right? He just materialized on the earth. Right? You ever watch so-called Star Trek and they damn materialize, they get beamed down, and they just damn happen to be on the earth? That's how Melchizedek was. He came from the heaven, he materialized on the earth. Right? The Lord put them all together just to meet Abraham at this set time. All right? So he abided like the Son of God, because he is the Son of God. But he wasn't called Yahawashi at the time. right? By the men's understanding. Abraham didn't know him as that, right? He knew him as this priest, this king of righteousness, right? You know, and Abraham knew who this man was through the spirits. That's why he gave him tithes of all. You don't just give all your spoils to just anybody. You know in the spirit that this is somebody greater than myself, right?
Verse number 4. Now consider how great this man was, unto whom even the patriarch Abraham gave the tenth of the spoils. And verily, they that are of the sons of Levi, who receive the office of the priesthood, have a commandment to take tithes of the people according to the law, that is of their brethren, though they came out of the loins of Abraham.
Right, and we're not going to go too deep into the law, but when you read the Torah, you read about how the Levites were charged of taking 10% of the increase of the children of Israel. All right, you read about that. The Levites were not given a portion. The Lord was their portion. So the only way for them to really maintain was to survive off of the wealth of the children of Israel, and they lived good. So if you live in the land of Israel and we as the sand of the sea, and everybody's giving you 10% of their increase, you're not gonna have too many problems. All right?
And they lived in the suburbs.
You have to live in the suburbs. Right.
But he whose descendant is not counted from them received tithes of Abraham and blessed him that had the promises.
Right. So it's telling you that Yahawashi, he doesn't come from the seed of Levi, but he still received the tithes and blessed him. All right, let's go on.
Verse 7. And without all contradiction, the less is blessed of the better.
Yeah, meaning Yahawashi actually supersedes the Levitical priesthood. Right? The less, which is the Levites, they're blessed of the better priest, which is Yahawashi.
And here men that die receive tithes, but there he receiveth them of whom it is witnessed that he liveth. And as I may say, so say, Levi also, who received tithes, paid tithes in Abraham. For he was yet in the loins of his father when Melchizedek met him.
You see that? So the Levites paid tithes too. Who did the Levi pay tithes to? By show of hand. But to Melchizedek. The Levi, how did they pay tithes to Levi? I thought Levi wasn't born to the time of Genesis, later chapters in Genesis. But how could the Levites pay tithes and they're not even born yet? It just said it. You said what?
Abraham was paying tithes.
All right, so what does that have to do with Levi?
Because Levi came out of it.
There you go. So the Levites paid tithes to Yahawashi when they were in the loins of Abraham. So this was all set up in the ancient times. What priesthood would be the greater priesthood? It can't be the Levites because the Levites are paying tithes to Melchizedek. So what priest is going to be greater? The one that's taking the tithes from the man that's taking the tithes, right? So Yahawashi is the ultimate priest during the time of Genesis. He's set up as being that priest from the ancient times, right? It's not no ordinary mortal man, right? You got something? We can go to John 8, right? Let's go to John chapter 8 and 56.
Right, John chapter 8 and verse 56. Right now we're going to go to the next man who Yahawashi was on the earth, which was Isaac. Right, we're going to break that down through the Spirit. Right, so this is John chapter 8 and verse 56.
It's like this also link up with Melchizedek as well, right? Link up with both, like the brother said.
Your father Abraham rejoiced to see my day, and he saw it and was glad.
So it's like, when did Yahawashi said Abraham rejoiced to see my day? Right? Yahawashi is letting you know that Abraham saw me. Was Abraham alive during this time? No, he's been gave up the ghost, man. Well over 4,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago from that time. You know, give or take, way more. Right? Now, he said Abraham saw me. Right?
Verse 57. Then said the Jews unto him, thou art not yet 50 years old, and hast thou seen Abraham?
How'd you see Abraham? What the hell is going on? Right?
Yahawashi said unto him, verily, verily, I say unto you, before Abraham was, I am.
You see that? Before Abraham was, I am. Right? Meaning he saw me. right? I created Abraham. That's what I'm telling you, man. When Abraham saw me, he rejoiced and he gave me tithes, right? And he knew who I was, you know? Let's get another quick precept real quick in Psalms 110 and 4. Right, let's go to Psalms chapter 110 and 4. So Yahawashi give you the inside scoop. He met Abraham, man. Even in the time of Genesis, the 18th chapter. You know? This is Psalms chapter 110 and verse 4. It reads, the Lord hath sworn and will not repent. Thou art a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. So who did the Lord swear to? Yahawashi. He told Yahawashi this before the time of old, for the ancient days, before man was created. The Lord promised to Yahawashi that he would be a priest forever after the order of Melchizedek. You got the Aaronic priesthood from the sons of Levi, and you have the priesthood of Melchizedek. So again, like the brother went into in John chapter 8, Yahawashi actually met Abraham on several occasions.
Now let's go to Colossians chapter 1 and verse 14. Right? You got to remember what the priesthood was set up for. They were set up to make atonements and to do sacrifices as well. Right? So Yahawashi is that continuing sacrifice for the nation of Israel. Right? So we have redemption through him. Right? Colossians 1 and 14. In whom we have redemption through his blood, even the forgiveness of sins, who is the image of the invisible God and firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. Right? So the priesthood was created for Yahawashi by Yahawashi to receive the tithes, so on and so forth. Right? So everything that was created was for him and by him. Right? And the Most High gave him that blueprint. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. Right? So the only reason Abraham is here is because Yahawashi. He set him up in the third heaven, created him and sent him to the earth. Right? That goes to Wisdom of Solomon 7. No man being born on this earth hasn't come through woman and pleasures of sleep. Right? Except Melchizedek. Right? So that's a cut to that Immaculate Conception. Wisdom of Solomon 7. So Yahawashi does have an earthly mother and an earthly father, right? So we're going to jump to Genesis chapter 18. We're going to go to start at verse 1. Genesis 18 and 1. And the Lord appeared unto him in the plains of Mamre, and he sat in the tent door in the heat of the day. And he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him. And when he saw them, he ran to meet them from the tent door and bowed himself toward the ground.
A quick point. Yeah, you're going to find out that these 3 men aren't actually 3 mortal men. You're going to find out as you read this account, this is in fact Hamashiach Yahawashi and 2 death angels. Right? Yahawashi and 2 death angels. They don't say that. It wouldn't say death angels and Yahawashi. It says 3 men. All right, well, let's keep reading, see if these are 3 actual men.
And said, my Lord, if now I have found favor in thy sight, pass not away, I pray thee, from thy servant.
Yeah, why would Abraham call him my Lord? Right? 3 men pop up on you, and now you start being real submissive to him. Right? No random dude knock at your door, 3 guys. Okay, here. I'm like, man, what's going on? Right? What are you here for? You know? But Abraham knew in the spirit, hey, look, these men, look, I've seen you before. My Lord, don't pass by. This is something that you say to a friend. You know, that you kind of familiar with, man. You kind of know this, man. Right?
Let a little water, I pray thee, be fetched, and wash your feet, and rest yourselves under the tree. And I will fetch a morsel of bread, and comfort ye your hearts. After that, you shall pass on, for therefore are you come to your servant. And they said, so do as thou hast said. And Abraham hasted into the tent. So like unto Sarah and said, make ready quickly 3 measures of fine meal, kneaded and made cakes upon the hearth. And Abraham ran unto the herd and fetched a calf tender and good and gave it to the young man, and he hastened to dress it. He took butter and milk in the calf which he had dressed and set it before them. He stood by them under the tree, and they did eat.
So he kind of threw down for Yahawashi, man. Kind of threw down. You know, he didn't just give him a boiled egg, man. Right? The Lord popped up and he kind of threw down. Right? He made, and Sarah made haste. She'd say, nigga, it's your turn to cook. Who at the door? Who is it? I ain't cooking for all y'all niggas, man. You know? Why don't you order something? Check the fridge. She said, come, my Lord. She ain't know what's going on. Who at the door? She getting it done. Right?
Verse 9. And they said unto him, where is Sarah thy wife? He said, behold in the tent.
Salakia, quick point. And you know these aren't mortal men, because how do they know about Sarah? How do they know Abraham's wife by name? He said, where is Sarah thy wife? Now, if a stranger pop on you says, and they say, where your wife at? You might want to fight. What do you mean, where my wife at? Or you want to start fighting? Or how you know? You're going to get mad at your woman. You might slam the door. Who's this? So-and-so. But Abraham, he in the spirit. He know that these are three mortal men, right?
Verse 10, he said, I will certainly return unto thee according to the time of life, and lo, Sarah thy wife shall have a son. And Sarah heard it in the tent door which was behind him. Now Abraham and Sarah were old and were well stricken in age, and it ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of woman.
Yeah, Yahawashi said, I will return to thee according to the time of life. By show of hands, what's the time of life? How long is that? No, the time of life is what? He said Sarah's going to have a son. What's the time of life? No. No, we're gonna get it. Your brother got it. What is the time of life? I will return to thee according to the time of life.
This wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7 and verse 2. And in my mother's womb was fashioned to be flesh in the time of 10 months, being compacted in blood of the seed of man and the pleasure that came with sleep.
See that? So the time of life is what Esau called your gestation gestation period. Or how long a woman bears a child, right? Solomon said it was 10 months, right? Because men and women were a lot different back then, a lot healthier, you understand, a lot stronger. So you had to bear that child, 10 months. Now it's 8 months. Sometimes babies might be born 5 months, might die in the womb, right? Back then it was 10 months all the time. So he told Isaac, I'll be back. He told Abraham, I'll be back in about 10 months. According to the time of life, you're going to have a son, right? Basically, look, you'll see me again in 10 months.
And it said that Abraham ceased to be with Sarah after the manner of women. So they got so old, they weren't even laying down with each other anymore. Yeah. Right? They was like, look, we done already done this business so many times over, ain't nothing happened. Right? He ceased to deal with her. Right? Verse 12. Therefore Sarah laughed within herself, saying, after I wax old, shall I have pleasure, my Lord, being old also? And the Lord said unto Abram, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of surety bear a child which am old? Right? So the Lord heard it. She was inside the tent. Right? She laughing within herself, it said. Right? And the Lord perceived it and said, what is your wife doing, man? Right? You know how mad Abraham probably was? Abraham's probably, God damn it, what is she in here doing? Right? Right? She laughed within herself. The Lord said, well, what's your wife laughing about? Abraham's probably, I didn't hear her laugh. Right? Right?
Yeah, for brothers that don't know, within herself means in her head. Nobody heard it but the Lord.
And the Lord said unto Abram, wherefore did Sarah laugh, saying, shall I of surety bear a child which am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? At the time appointed will I return unto thee according to the time of life, and Sarah shall have a son. Then Sarah denied, saying, I laugh not, for she was afraid. He said, nay, but thou didst laugh. And the men rose up from this and looked toward Sodom, and Abram went with them to bring them on the way.
So why are they looking towards Sodom? They about to go destroy it. So this Yahawashi 2 angels. A two-part mission. One mission tell Abraham Isaac is going to be born, right? Well, Yahawashi is coming back as Isaac in 10 months. And the second part of his mission, and these other angels, we about to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, right?
Verse 16, and the men rose up from this and looked towards Sodom, and Abram went with them to bring them on the way. And the Lord said, shall I hide from Abram that thing, Abraham, Salakia, that thing which I do, seeing that Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I know him that he will command his children and his household after him, and they shall keep the way of the Lord to do justice and judgment, and the Lord may bring upon Abraham that which he has spoken of him.
Yeah. So you got to get your house in order, man. Right? The Lord said, I'm not hiding none of my secrets from Abraham because I know he's going to be on fire. Not just him, he's going to teach his wife, and he's going to teach his son. So I'm breaking everything down to him. Right? Abraham was the friend of the Lord, man. You know, imagine you're the friend of Yahawashi. Right? The Lord going to tell certain brothers, depart from me, I never knew you. Then he's going to tell men like Abraham, that's his friend, man. So we want to be like Abraham and make sure that we get our house in order, right? Making sure things are taken care of as men of the Lord, right? Right?
Let's go to Genesis. Keep going. Come. Genesis chapter 19. 18. So like Genesis 18 and verse 20. And the Lord said, because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know.
So the Lord sent two angels to do a recon mission, right? Let's really go and see if Sodom and Gomorrah is wicked. We hear Lot crying. Lot is vexing. He's saying his place is polluted and filthy. We're going to go check it out. And the Lord is doing that now, huh? Right? There are angels all throughout Babylon the Great, huh? Recording the sins of America, bringing it up to the Most High. Because we crying out to the Lord, so the Lord has angels down here. Man. You might think it's a guy walking around with sunglasses on, or somebody you see in a mall. It could be an angel recording the sins of that place, man, on a mission. And then you told him, shut up. You got to hold the door for him. He got stuff to do. No, I got something to do. That's the angel of the Lord, man. That's Hebrews 13 and 2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Sometimes you're dealing with angels, right? And Abraham knew that. Sometimes we don't know. We're on a low level, right? You're busy in your own day. You got stuff going on. You're not thinking about encountering an angel, right? So, you know, you got to let that brotherly love continue, because sometimes your brother can actually be your angel. Now, what if you offend the angel? He's going to bring it up to the Lord, huh? And guess what? The Lord will say, all right, take that man out. Yes, so you had a point?
I was asking, are those two angels that are about to go destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, those two angels that were getting bombarded by the...
Yeah, those are the same two angels that Lot bowed down to in Genesis 19. So these chapters continue. From Genesis 18, Yahawashi is still talking to Abraham, and when you read the rest of this chapter, the two angels, they had stuff they had to do. And all hell broke loose with them angels, man. The man, if you don't know what the brother's making reference to, read Genesis 19, and they went to rape those angels to death. Wicked, man.
Yeah. Second Chronicles chapter 16 and verse 9. For the eyes of the Lord run to and fro throughout the whole earth, to show himself strong in the behalf of them, those whose hearts is perfect towards him. Herein thou hast done foolishly, therefore from henceforth thou shalt have wars. Right? So the Lord got his eyes, which are the angels, going to and fro, right? Perceiving the good, the evil, the charity, the wickedness, the deceit, the guile, all things, right? So when you feel like you're alone at home, best believe it might be 2 to 5 to 8 to 100 angels around you watching what you're doing. Right? So brothers got to be mindful of that, man. You're never alone. Right? You always got angels watching you, whatever you're doing.
Right. It's Tobit chapter 12. Right. Real quick, let's go to Tobit chapter 12 and verse 9. Now, Tobit chapter 12 and 11. It reads, This the angel Raphael, right? Raphael, the angel, talking to Tobit. Surely I will keep close nothing from you, for I said it was good to keep close the secret of a king, but that it was honorable to reveal the works of the Most High. Now therefore, when thou didst pray, the remembrance of your prayers before the Holy One. I did bring the remembrance of your prayers before the Holy One, and when thou didst bury the dead, I was with thee likewise. So the angels let you know, hey, look, all those righteous works he was doing, I was right there with you, man. You were burying the dead, or there was a crime punishable by death, right? When you was charitable, I was there. When you're praying, I was there, right? And when thou didst not delay to rise up and leave thy dinner to go and cover the dead, thy good deed was not hid from me, but I was with thee. And now the Most High hath sent me to heal thee and Sarah thy daughter-in-law. I am Raphael, one of the 7 holy angels, which present the prayers of the saints, and which go in and out before the glory of the Holy One. I'm going to jump down to verse 19. All these days I did appear unto you. I did neither eat nor drink, but ye did see a vision. So when Yahawashi the angels was eating with Abraham, they don't really eat man's food, right? It wasn't burping it. It was the Lord put them in a trance and made them believe that they was actually eating that butter and those calves and that milk, right? But man doesn't know what's going on. The Lord put them in a trance and made them believe that they was actually eating food, right? But they was kind of just sitting there the whole time. But the Lord put a damn spirit on you to make you see something that's not there, right? And the Lord told Tobit that too, man. So you might give a homeless guy something to eat, and not every angel's a homeless guy, right? But he could be kind of give him some kind of eat it, and you might think he's eating it, but that's not even happening, right? You don't know what's going on, right? You just kind of caught out there,
Let's go back to Genesis chapter 18, verse 22. And the men turned their faces from thence and went towards Sodom, and Abraham stood there before the Lord.
See that? The 2 men went towards Sodom to meet Lot, but Abraham still standing before who? The Lord, Yahawashi himself, man. Right? So the Lord didn't just pop up during the time of Luke as a baby. You got people that only worship the baby form of Yahawashi. Thank you, baby Jesus, baby God. And they got the Mary with the baby Jesus, man. And they kiss and bow to that image all day. They don't like the Lord when he's grown. They don't even like the Lord when he's 12. They only like baby Jesus, right? Well, the Lord has been here constantly, huh? From the ancient times. And we'll show you that in Genesis all throughout the Bible.
Verse 23. And Abraham drew near and said, wilt thou also destroy the righteous with the wicked? Peradventure, there be 50 righteous within the city. Wilt thou also destroy and not spare the place for the 50 righteous that are therein?
Yeah, so he's pretty much trying to save Lot. Because, it's about to go down inside of Gomorrah. And he's begging the Lord to save Lot. He said, if there's 50 righteous people, save. But you find out when you read the rest of this chapter, wasn't nobody righteous. Literally not one soul was righteous except Lot in that entire city. Right? The Lord didn't save Lot and a couple of his neighbors because they was on fire too. No, everybody was wicked, man. The Lord didn't save a little innocent boy of the Sodom. He probably didn't know. No, the boys was trying to rape the angels too. And see that in Genesis 19, 6-year-olds. Yeah, look at the angels. And the dad right there, come on, my son. That's wicked, man. Everybody from around 6 to 66 was trying to get in on that thing. Right? So the Lord had to destroy that city, right? The mother's encouraging them, go ahead, do so. Do it. Right? Because they got women coming over, huh? So that filthy kingdom had to be taken out the earth.
I want to show that it was the young men and the old men.
God.
Right? This is Genesis chapter 19 and verse 4. But before they laid down the men of the city, even the men of Sodom can pass the house round about, both old and young, all the people from every quarter. Right? So they was in there trying to get a little piece of the action, man. Right? From all around, 4 quarters, man. That's a completion. A city isn't a small place. That's a lot of men trying to get in there.
Right.
Right? to one house. Imagine if all Baltimore City came out front of the school. Man, that'd be ridiculous, man.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, you look it up in the Hebrew, that word young, it means a boy, a youth, a lad. So that's like, 10 years old. And they saw them angels, and word got out quick. Right? Word, because they weren't there that long. They weren't there for 3 days. It only took a few hours for word to go out that there's some mighty men. These aren't no mortal men. We haven't seen no men like this. These men glow. They got real woolly hair. They strong. They tall. We got work we got to do. And they passed the notes. Go, 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 go. Get everybody. Get everybody. They start marching. Where's the city at? And then when you read this account, the Lord blinded them, and it was still trying to find the angels, man. Right. Got their foot in the door, pressing the door out. He said, "Oh, this is it, man. It's not it's not like that yet, but it'll get like that in America. We was to stay here for about 200 more years. It'll get like that, man. You'll move in the neighborhood. Before, your neighbor might greet you, bring you an apple pie, and you walk to the neighborhood. They might say, look, where you from, But now you move into a neighborhood, the sodomites might come around, huh? Right? The sodomites knocking on near your back window, lifting up the damn thing. You got to get out of there, man. These things happened back then, right? So it was real. It's kind of like that now, but it's not as bad as it was, man. When they want to rape them, and they said, I got daughters. They said, we don't want one. Who do you think we are? Right? You take this as a joke. We want men. Right? You think we sweet? We don't want those women. We don't want those daughters. So what, they virgins? I don't care about that. I want man flesh. Right? Yeah, I got a precept. Let's go to the book of Jude. Right? A quick precept. Right? Let's go to the book of Jude. Right? Let's go to the book of Jude. Chapter 1. Quick precept on that. Right? Jude 1 and 7. Right? Jude 1 and 7. Even as Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities about them in like manner, giving themselves over to fornication and going after strange flesh, are set forth for an example, suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. See that? So the Lord said that's a wicked, filthy act, and they're suffering the vengeance of eternal fire. That doesn't mean they're in hell, right? It just means they got destroyed.
Let's go to First Chronicles chapter 7. You want to go on? Let's go to First Chronicles chapter 17, and we can go to verse 7. Or we can start at 7.
One more for Isaac. And one more precept for Isaac. Let's go to Genesis 22.
Oh yeah, come.
Sorry. Let's go to Genesis chapter 22. All right, we're not going to read this. I'm going to get straight to the point. All right, this Genesis 22. I'm going to read the first 6 verses. Actually, we're going to read 1 through 8. Right, and we'll get the point. So this Genesis chapter 22 and verse 1. And it came to pass after these things that the Most High did tempt Abraham and said unto him, Abraham, and he said, Behold, here I am. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into that land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. So why did he call him his only son?
He also had Ishmael.
He had Ishmael, but why is this his only son? If he has Ishmael too. Isaac is the son of the promise. He's the son of the promise. Doesn't that sound familiar? The Lord loved his only begotten son, right? In John 3, right? So it's the same spirit. And he said, offer him upon Mount Moriah. That's right near Jerusalem, right? Where was Yahawashi crucified? In Jerusalem, right? So let's read on. I'll read on verse 3. I'll read 2 again. And he said, Take now thy son, thine only son Isaac, whom thou lovest, and get thee into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell thee of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his ass, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and clave the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up, and went unto the place which the Most High had told him. Right? So you got Isaac bearing the wood. Right? Sound familiar? What does that sound like? Yahawashi bearing the cross for his offering. Isaac bearing the wood for his offering. Right? That which has been is that which shall be. Verse 4. Salaki, the one. Then on the third day, Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. Now it's the third day. All right? Let's read on. It says, and Abraham said unto his young men, abide ye here with the ass, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it upon Isaac his son. Like they took the cross and made Yahawashi bear the cross. Isaac has to bear the wood. It's the same thing all over again. Right? And he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spake unto Abraham his father and said, my father. And he said, here am I, my son. And he said, behold, the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for a burnt offering? So Isaac kind of trying, what's going on? He said, we're doing this offering, right? We're carrying the wood. What's about to be offered up? What's going on? Right? He said, we're about to do this. There ain't no lamb. All I see is me, you, and a knife and fire. What's really going on, Dad? You can't be simple in this thing, huh? You know, you had something, you had a point? Mike, you had something? All right, let's read on. It says, and Abraham said, check out what Abraham the prophet said. My son, the Most High will provide a lamb for a burnt offering. So they went both of them together. And I'm going to jump down to the point. I'm going to jump down to verse 13. You said what? I'm going to read 8 again. And Abraham said, my son, the Most High will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. So they were both of them together. Right? So the Lord said he will provide a lamb. Let's see if a lamb actually was provided at this time. We're going to jump down to verse 13. I'm going to start at 12. And he said, lay not thine hand upon the lad, neither do thou anything unto him. For now I know that thou fearest the Most High, seeing thou hast not withheld thy son, thine only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram and offered him up for a burnt offering in the stead of his son. So did Abraham lie when he told Isaac the Lord was going to provide a lamb, but instead a ram came? Did Abraham go off? No, he didn't go off. Abraham prophesied that, look, it's not time for you to be offered up, right? It's time for the ram to be offered up, but in due time, the lamb is going to be offered up. Or it's not time for you to be sacrificed and bear this wood and Jerusalem and get for this offering, but the days are coming where it's going to go down, right? And that will happen all throughout Yahawashi's ministry. He wanted to kill Yahawashi and crucify him, but his hour did not come. All right, let me get that real quick. Yeah, sorry.
So like it, and like how Yahawashi went as a lamb and didn't buck up, the same way Isaac did.
Right.
Where he asked the question, where's the burnt offering? Right? He laid him upon the altar, about to slay him, and he didn't say nothing.
That's right.
Foreshadowing or foretelling the same thing that's going to happen 3,000-4,000 years later.
That's a good point. That's right. It's John. Let's go to John real quick. Chapter 7 and 29 and 30. All right. Yeah, Isaac didn't buck up, man. Right? He didn't say, no, you ain't offering me up. What the hell is going on? He said, look, we got to get it over with. Let's deal with it. That's how the daughter of Jephthah was in the book of Judges, man. He had to offer up his daughter. He said, look, it is what it is. Right? Let's go to John chapter 7 and 29. But I know him, for I am from him, and he hath sent me. Then they sought to take him, but no man laid hands on him, because his hour was not yet come. Just like during the time of Genesis, his hour did not yet come. Right? Everything was laid out, but it wasn't time. The Lord replaced it with a ram. Just like during the time of Yahawashi, they wanted to kill him. Right? They wanted to have him give up the ghost, but his hour had not yet come. Huh? There was a time when you might have been facing death. Right? You might have been going through it. But the Lord preserved you alive because it's not time for a man to take you out. The Lord, man don't call the shots. The Most High call the shots. You got men that get survived. They survive damn drive-bys or straight bullets, and they barely, survive a car accident, and they escape with the skin of their teeth because your hour had not yet come. You know.
Right, let's go to First Chronicles chapter 17. And we're going to start at verse 7.
Now we're dealing with Solomon.
Right, First Chronicles 17:7. Now therefore, thus shalt thou say unto my servant David, thus saith the Lord of hosts, I took thee from the sheepcote, even from following the sheep, that thou shouldest be the ruler over my people Israel. And I have been with thee wheresoever thou hast walked, and have cut off all thy enemies from before thee, and have made thee a name like the name of the great men that are in the earth. Also I will ordain a place for my people Israel, and I will plant them, and they shall dwell in their place, and shall be moved no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness waste them any more, as at the beginning, and since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel. Moreover, I will subdue all thy enemies. Furthermore, I tell thee that the Lord will build thee an house. Right? So the Lord is saying, I'm going to plant my people Israel in a place, and they're not going to have to worry about the wicked men, the other nations being violent, uprooting them ever again. Right? We know that's not talking about Solomon, because what happened right after Solomon? The kingdom got split. Right? You had the northern tribes go up here, the southern tribes stayed here. Right? Where am I at? So like verse 11. And it shall come to pass when the days be expired that thou must go to be with thy fathers, and I will raise up thy seed after thee, which shall be of thy sons, and I will establish his kingdom. And he shall build me an house, and I will establish his throne forever. And I will be his father, and he shall be my son, and I will not take away my mercy from him, as I took it away from him that was before thee. But I will settle him in my house and in my kingdom forever. His throne shall be established forevermore. According to all these words, and according to all this vision, so did Nathan speak unto David. Right? So who is this son that's getting set up in the steed after David? Yahawashi, but in another sense, who is it? King Solomon. Right? So we're going to prove and show that King Solomon is another generation of Yahawashi.
Yeah, and you know that it said that he will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. How long was Solomon's rulership? 40 years. Around 970 to 930 BC. Right? Around 970 to 930, that was Solomon's rulership. 40 years. Right? 970 BC to 930 BC. King Solomon's rulership. It definitely wasn't forever. Right? He died in old age. Right? So we know that this isn't applicable strictly to King Solomon, like the brother's going into. And it said, I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever, man. You know?
Salakia, right after that, right, the northern kingdom went into captivity under the Assyrians, and the southern kingdom, went into captivity under who? Babylon. Right? So you know the kingdom wasn't established forever, right? Because we had more prophecy to go through, right? So let's go to Psalms chapter 72. Right, Psalm 72. Right, it says, it's a psalm for Solomon. Give the king thy judgments, O God, and thy righteousness unto the king's son. He shall judge thy people with righteousness, and the poor with judgment. The mountains shall bring peace to the people, and the little hills by righteousness. He shall judge the poor of the people. He shall save the children of the needy. He shall break in pieces the oppressor. Right? So we know this isn't talking about Solomon's kingdom. Right? Because what does Solomon mean in Hebrew? It would be Shalom. What does that mean? When we greet each other, when we say Shalom, what's that mean? Peace. So what does Solomon mean? Peace. Right? He lived 40 years of peace. There was no war in Israel.
Quick precept on that. It's First Chronicles 22 and 9. Now, Psalm 72, like the brother said, it says a psalm of a Solomon. But how could this be talking about Solomon when it says he's going to break in pieces the oppressor? Right? This First Chronicles 22 and 9. Behold, a son shall be born to thee, who shall be a man of rest. And it said David was a man of war, right? But Solomon, he's a man of rest. And I will give him rest from all his enemies round about, for his name shall be Solomon. And I will give him peace and quietness unto Israel in his days. So that lets you know that Psalm 72, although it says a song for Solomon, is it truly Solomon?
That's a beautiful precept. Verse 5, and they shall fear thee as long as the sun and moon endure throughout all generations. Right? Don't nobody reverence the name Solomon if you're not in the truth. Right? You hear Solomon, you be like, who? What? Right? So they say it's going to reverence him, or it says they're going to fear thee as long as the sun and moon endure. But we know the sun and the moon ain't going nowhere no time soon.
Right.
It's here forever. Right? Verse 6, he shall come down like rain upon the mown grass and showers that water the earth. In his days shall the righteous flourish, and abundance of peace so long as the moon endures. Right? And we know that in those days the righteous wasn't flourishing. Right? You had wicked kingdoms still at war. Right? I got the key. You had people coming to Solomon to get wisdom. Right? So we know that the righteous wasn't flourishing. Right? We didn't have cities of gold everywhere. Right? So this is a full team of this coming to pass. Good, thank you.
Yeah, yesterday at camp, he asked the brother to name one king. He couldn't do it.
Right? That's a perfect example. Right? Verse 8. He shall have dominion also from sea to sea and from river unto the ends of the earth. And we know that Solomon's dominion was only Israel. Right? He only ruled over Israel.
No, I'm fine.
Come. Verse 9. They that dwell in the wilderness shall bow down before him. His enemies shall lick the dust. And when are we going to dwell in the wilderness? When did we ever dwell in the wilderness during Solomon's time? And when are we going to dwell in the wilderness? After Babylon. Right? So those that be in the wilderness are going to bow down to him. Right? Solomon's long gone. Solomon's been gone for 4,000 plus years, 3,000 plus years. So we're going to bow down to Solomon again in that wilderness. Right? And the kings of Tarshish and of the isles shall bring presents. The king of Sheba and Seba shall offer gifts. Yea, all the kings shall fall down before him. All nations shall serve him. Right? That's literally going back to Revelation 19. He's going to be placing crowns on his head. He's going to be taking over kingdoms. All the kings are going to bow down to serve him. Right? Verse 12. For he shall deliver the needy when he crieth, the poor also, and him that have no helper. He shall spare the poor and needy, and shall save the souls of the needy. Right? He's going to save the souls of the needy. Right? How do you save the souls if you're a king? Right? Who has power to save anybody's soul? Nobody but Yahawashi. Right? So there's no account in the scriptures where he saved anybody's souls. Right? He shall redeem their soul from deceit and violence, and precious shall their blood be in his sight. Right? Anybody got a precept to show that the blood is precious in the sight of the Most High? Bring it up. Right? You got to read these Psalms in the spirit, man. You can't read this book like a novel, man. Right? That's why I say you got to go precept upon precept, line upon line, here a little, there a little, to get the understanding. Right? You reading this, you're going to think Solomon was into human sacrifice. Right? That's why it's good to go precept upon precept. Right? Brothers use Google too. Yeah, bring it up.
The book of 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 19. It says, but with the precious blood of Hamashiach, as of a lamb without blemish and without spot. Barely.
No, that wasn't it.
One?
No, but that's a good precept.
Blood, right?
It's in the same book of Psalms. Right? Same book of Psalms. Right? About the saints' blood being precious in the sight of the Lord. You got
Psalm 72 and 14.
That's what we just read.
Yeah. All right, let's go to it. You got it, King. Bring it up.
Psalms chapter 116.
There you go.
Verse 15.
Well, Psalms 116 and 15.
Says, precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints.
See that? Precious in the sight of the Lord is the death of his saints. That's a heavy verse right there. Right? The death of his saints. That's precious in the eyes of the Lord. Huh? You know? You got some notes? Okay.
No, I mean, we can read it on. We can finish it. At no point not finish it.
Okay.
Verse 15. He shall live, and to him shall be given the gold of Sheba. Prayer also shall be made for him continually, and daily shall he be praised.
And nobody's offering up incense to King Solomon and praying for him. When the last time you prayed for King Solomon, Michael? You in your prayers, you're praying up, you're fasting, you say, Lord, and please bless King Solomon. Right? What about you, Matham? You ever pray for King Solomon? Right? What about you? No, man, that's not what it's talking about, man. Right? It's talking about Yahawashi and the kingdom of heaven. You know?
There shall be a handful of the corner in the earth upon the top of the mountains. The fruit thereof shall shake like Lebanon, and they of the city shall flourish like grass of the earth. His name shall endure forever. His name shall be continued as long as the sun, and men shall be blessed in him. All nations shall call him blessed. Blessed be the Lord God, the God of Israel, who only doeth wondrous things, and blessed be his glorious name forever. Let the whole earth be filled with his glory. Amen. Amen. The prayers of David, the son of Jesse, are ended.
See that? Now, another point dealing with King Solomon is when you go into the creation, Yahawashi created everything, but who gave him the blueprint? The Most High gave him the blueprint, right? Let's get that in Genesis 1, right? Let's get that in Genesis chapter 1. The Most High gave him the blueprint. Right now, you're not going to see the word blueprint in the Bible, right? But that's the terminology we're going to use, right? This Genesis, Salaki, we're going to link it up, right, Salaki? It's Genesis 1 and 1. In the beginning, it says God created the heaven and the earth, but we know that word God is talking about what? Yahawashi and the angels. And in Hebrew, it's the Alahayim, right? The powers. Yum makes it suffix, it'll make it plural, right? So it's not just Allah, it's not just one singular entity, it's the powers, right? Yahawashi and the angels. They created the heavens and the earth. The Heavenly Father didn't get off his throne and start doing the work. He gave the blueprint to his son to build the work for the Father. Right? Now let's get a precept. Let's go to 1 Chronicles chapter 28. Right? The same thing happened. The Father gave Yahawashi or Solomon a blueprint to build the temple and to build everything all over again. It's the same thing. The works of the Most High were built again, passed down from father to son. Right? This is 1 Chronicles chapter 28 and 11. Then David gave to Solomon his son the pattern of the porch and of the houses thereof, and of the treasuries thereof, and of the upper chambers, it's like the upper chambers thereof, and of the inner parlors thereof, and of the place of the mercy seat. So how the same thing Yahawashi had the pattern to build the mercy seat and everything in the heavens, it happened on the earth, right? King David had the pattern, meaning the blueprint, the writings on how the temple would be laid out. Solomon didn't just come up with that. When people talk about the temple that Solomon built, David pretty much built that temple. Huh? He had the layout. He had the blueprint. He had everything designed, and Solomon was given a decree to put it into action, having his works. Right? And that word Alahayim doesn't just play out in the heavens, it's also on the earth. Right? Because that word means the gods. Right? And you have the gods on the earth, which are the Israelites, and you have the gods or the Yahawashi, the angels up there in the heavens. Right? Reading on. So like in 1 Chronicles chapter 28 and 12. And the pattern of all that he had by the Spirit of the courts of the house of the Lord, and of all the chambers round about, and of the treasuries of the house of the Most High, and of the treasuries of the dedicated things. Right? and verse 19. I'm gonna jump down to 19. So when you read this chapter, he gave him the layout of everything. All this said David, the Lord made me understand in writing by his hand upon me, even all the works of this pattern. So the Spirit hopped on David, and he wrote down, okay, this is going to be this tall. Okay, this pattern is going to link up with this. You're going to put the cherubims over here. You're going to get this, and even all of the gold and stuff that to build the temple. Solomon got all of that from David. David acquired all of that just to build the temple. David wanted to do it, but he couldn't do it. Why? Too much blood on his hands. He was a bloody man. Lord said, no, it ain't for you. The Father, you're going to give it to the Son, and he's going to have the blueprint to do this creation. Same thing during the time of Genesis. You know? So that's another way of understanding that Yahawashi Solomon dealing with the creation. Like the brother went into Colossians, all things were made by him and for him. That temple and everything was made for Solomon to rule on, to sit upon. Right? Just like Yahawashi sits upon the throne. You know?
And there was a brother in the chat, I'm not sure, Mark Robb. He said, Yahawashi is the Lamb without blemish. Didn't Solomon go off? Just can't see it in my spirit. Don't sit well with that. Right? Yes, Solomon went off. But that's why you got to go precept upon precept. Well, let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 7, and we're going to start at verse 10. Yeah. 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 10. Yes, Solomon went off. But we're going to see, because it's already perceived that Solomon was going to go off in the spirit. It was already prophesied. Right? So it says, moreover, I will appoint 2 Samuel 7. It's like 2 Samuel 7 and 10. Moreover, I will appoint a place for my people Israel, and I will plant them that they may dwell in the place of their own and move no more. Neither shall the children of wickedness afflict them anymore as before times. Right? We just read that in 2 Chronicles 17. Right? And as since the time that I commanded judges to be over my people Israel, I have caused thee to rest from all thy enemies. Also the Lord telleth thee that he would make thee an house. Right? We were just reading about the house. Right? All the cherubs over here, right? The beautiful decorations made of gold. We just read about that. Right? And when the days be fulfilled, then thou shalt sleep with thy fathers. I will set up thy seed after thee, which shall proceed out of his bowels, and I will establish his kingdom. He shall build a house for my name, and I will establish the throne of his kingdom forever. This is the key point right here.
No.
I will be his father, and he shall be my son. If he committeth iniquity, I will chasten him with the rod of men and with the stripes of the children of men. But my mercy shall not depart away from him, as I took it from Saul, whom I put away before thee. So when did Solomon go off? What did he do? Right, he's making altars to his wives and sacrificing the false gods. Right? Come. And when was he ever beaten by the rods of men for that iniquity? Never. But he said, if he committed sin, he'll be beaten with the rod of iniquity. Right. We're going to read the account right here.
This Nehemiah chapter 13 and verse 25. And I contended with them and cursed them and smote certain of them and plucked off their hair and made them swear by God, saying, ye should not give your daughters unto your sons, nor take their daughters unto your sons or for yourselves. Did not Solomon, king of Israel, sin by these things? Yet among many nations was there no king like him, who was beloved of his God, and the Most High made him king over all Israel. Nevertheless, even him did outlandish women cause to sin.
So these outlandish women caused Solomon in his old age to go off, right?
Another precept. This shows you that there is no account of King Solomon ever being punished by the stripes of men and by the rod of men. But you would think, well, hold on, 2 Samuel is only talking about Solomon. Well, you have to show us the account of Solomon being punished by being beaten with the stripes of men. This is Solomon's death. 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 41. And the rest of the 1 Kings chapter 11 and 39. 1 Kings 11 and 39. And I will for this afflict the seed of David, but not forever. Solomon sought therefore to kill Jeroboam. And Jeroboam arose and fled into Egypt unto Shishak, king of Egypt, and was in Egypt until the death of Solomon. And the rest of the acts of Solomon and all that he did and his wisdom and all his wisdom, are they not written in the book of the acts of Solomon? And the time that Solomon reigned over Jerusalem, over all Israel, or in Jerusalem, over all Israel was 40 years. And Solomon slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David his father, and all of his son reigned in his stead. So there's no account of Solomon dying or being punished before he died. I'll put it like that. Him being punished before he died strictly with the stripes of men. But who was beaten with stripes? Yahawashi. Let's get that in Isaiah chapter 53. Who was beaten with stripes by the children of men? Isaiah chapter 53 and verse 5. Right? Isaiah chapter 53 and verse 5. It reads, but he was wounded for our transgressions. He was bruised for our iniquities. The chastisement of his peace was upon him, and with his stripes we are healed. See that? With Yahawashi's stripes we are healed. With the Lord getting beat and blood is being shed, but at that same time we're being healed. Right? While he's dying, we're being made alive. While his blood is being shed, we're being sanctified. While he's feeling pain, we're feeling life. So with Yahawashi's stripes, we are being healed. So that shows you in 2 Samuel chapter 7 that yes, Solomon did get beat with stripes. But when did it happen? During the time of the Lord. Let's go to John 19 and 1, another quick precept. All right, let's see that being fulfilled. St. John chapter 19 and verse 1. Then Pilate therefore took Yahawashi and scourged him. What did he scourge him with? Stripes. Right? A Roman flagon. Right? You take the damn, like a cat of nine tails, you tie bone to it and nails and glass to it, and you hit a man and you leave it in there and it rips open his flesh. Then you do it again and it rips open his flesh. That's what they did to Yahawashi. They didn't just whip him with a belt. Right? It was when you look it up, they actually used bones and glass and nails to dig into your flesh and tear the skin out. They did that to Yahawashi. You know? And there's no telling how many times he whipped him and beat him. But the Lord couldn't even bear his own cross, man. All right?
Let's go to 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 1. Right? 1 Corinthians 15 and 1. Right? That's why you got to go precept upon precept. Right? And you got to be taught by men. Right? This isn't an easy thing to perceive. You don't just look in the Bible and be like, oh man, I understand that. That's only through the Spirit of the Lord that people are able to break this down and get to understand it. Right? It says, moreover, brethren, I declare to you the gospel which I preached unto you, which also you have received, and wherein ye stand, by which also ye are saved, if ye keep in memory what I preached unto you, unless ye have believed in vain. For I deliver unto you first of all that which I also received, how that Yahawashi died for our sins according to the scriptures. Right? And what scriptures is he quoting? He quoting the Old Testament. He going to Isaiah 53, right? He hopping down and going into 2 Samuel 7.
Psalms 22.
Psalms 22, Psalms 89, 32,
16,
all those. He said, these are the scriptures that was written to prove to you that the Lord will come and he has died for our sins. We know that Solomon wasn't beat. We know that Solomon died peacefully. We know his kingdom doesn't endure forever, right? So by process of elimination, by getting precept upon precept, getting a proper understanding, you know that Yahawashi in the spirit was Solomon, right? He set everything up. Whenever the temple is being laid or the foundation being laid, who's the one doing it? Yahawashi, right? Let's go to Haggai.
Quick precept, Salaki. I'm going to stay in that same chapter, 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and 19. It reads, if in this life only we have hope in Hamashiach, we are of all men most miserable. Showing you that you have more than one life. He said, well, if this is our only life, then we're men most miserable, man. Showing that man resurrects and man also regenerates. You have more than one life. It's not just one life. If it was, we'll be miserable men. Right? Otherwise, we'll never come into this truth. You understand? And believe in Yahawashi and walk the earth in faith.
God, that's a cut, man. That's a cut.
That's a cut.
I gotta add that in there. Let's go to Haggai chapter 2. We're gonna start at verse 20. Right? Start at verse 20. Right? So whenever the foundation of the temple is being laid, right, in the spirit, that's Yahawashi doing that. He's the only one who has the keys to lay down the foundation or to build the temple. Right?
Can I get that quick precept? Slucky. Quick precept on that to prove what the brother said. This is Job chapter 38 and 5. Right? Like the brother said, whenever the foundation is being laid, that's Yahawashi. Right? Job 38 and 5. Who hath laid the measures thereof, if thou knowest, or who hath stretched the line upon it? Whereupon this dealing with the creation. Whereupon are the foundations thereof fasted? Or who laid the cornerstone thereof? Or the morning stars sang together, and all the sons of God shouted for joy. So when they laid the foundation for the creation, the angels were rejoicing, huh? Right? When they put the elements together, they mixed up the molecules in the time of Genesis 1, and the foundation of the heavens and the earth were laid, the sons of God were rejoicing in those days. So even in the spirit world, the Lord laid a foundation or the temple or the tabernacle for man to dwell in, which is the earth. I can tell you Psalms chapter 115, I believe it's 16, the earth hath he given to men. You know, so what man's house to dwell on was created in the spirit, it was laid by Yahawashi, the foundation. And like the brother going into the actual second temple during the time of Ezra.
It's the book of Haggai, chapter 2, and verse 20. And it came, and again the word of the Lord came unto Haggai in the 24th day of the month, saying, speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah. Right? Another word for governor is pretty much the king. Right? He's pretty much the king over Judah. Right? Saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen, and I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride in them, and the horses and the riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. Right? This is going into the last days, talking about World War III, the destruction going on earth. Right? So all these nations are going to be overthrown in these last days. In that day, saith the Lord of hosts, will I take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shishael, saith the Lord, and I will make thee as a signet, for I have chosen thee, saith the Lord of hosts. Right? Can a brother look up the word signet and get the definition? Right? So this is the Lord speaking to Haggai, saying he's going to take Zerubbabel, the governor of Judah, in the last days when the kingdom is being established, he's going to make him a signet. Go ahead, Lamar, you got it?
A small seal, especially one set in a ring, used instead or with a signature to give authentication to an official document.
Right, so he's going to be set up to give that seal. He's going to be the one to rule over this kingdom that's to come. Right, who's going to be ruling in the kingdom? Yahawashi. So why is the Lord saying it's going to be Zerubbabel? Say it again, King. It's Yahawashi, right? You got a precept, King?
Yeah, let's go to the book of Zechariah. Now, what we're going to, and even in Matthew, the first chapter, it tells you that this Yahawashi, the son of Abraham, the son of Isaac. Read Matthew 1 and 1, right? This is the generations of Jesus Christ, the son of Abraham, the son of David. Literally the son of Abraham as well, and literally the son of David as well. Zerubbabel is in the same genealogy as one of the kings who's supposed to be king, but they're in captivity. So the title is just relegated to a governor. So this is another precept. This is the book of Zechariah, chapter 4 and verse 6. It reads, and he answered and spake unto me, saying, this is the word of the Lord unto Zerubbabel, saying, not by might, nor by power, but by my spirit, said the Lord of hosts. So he's letting these men know the only way you're building this temple is not off of you, it's through my spirit. Just like now, the only way we're able to go out there and teach and remember the precepts is all the spirit of the Lord. Right? Verse 7. Who art thou, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, thou shalt become a plain, and he shall bring forth a headstone, crying, It's like a headstone thereof with shoutings, crying, grace, grace unto it. So the Lord said, who art thou, O great mountain? What are mountains in the Bible? Nations. What happens if you turn a mountain to a plain? What did you do with it? You flattened it out. You took it down. Right? The Lord said before Zerubbabel, the great mountain is going to be turned into a plain. You see that? Let's read on. Verse 8. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, the hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house. His hand shall also finish it. And thou shalt know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you. So he laid the foundation of the house, and he's also going to finish it. When is he going to finish the foundation? When is the Lord going to finish the temple? No, before he comes back, it's already going to be built. When is the Lord going to finish the temple? Once he seals the 144,000. That's when every stone is going to be laid within the temple. He laid the foundation during this time, but he's also going to finish the building during these days. That's why I tell you in the book of same book as Zechariah chapter 6. Right, let's go to Zechariah chapter 6 and verse 12. Zechariah chapter 6 and 12. Right? This is the book of Zechariah chapter 6 and 12. Right? It reads, and speaking to him, saying, thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, behold, the man whose name is the branch. Who's the branch? How do you know? How do you know the branch is Yahawashi? No, that's the nation of Israel. John 15, bring it up. Right? Yes, the branch is Yahawashi. He is the branch.
John 15, verse 6 says, henceforth I call you not servants, for the servant knoweth not what his Lord doeth, but I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made.
Yeah, you got to start up a little bit. More. Really, verse 1. You can read verse 1.
I am the true vine, and my Father is the husbandman. Every branch in me that beareth not fruit, he taketh away, and every branch that breatheth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit.
So that's a precept to show you how we shine that vine, and we branch off from that.
We use Jeremiah 23 and 5.
There you go, Jeremiah 23 and 5. That's another one. Bring it up.
Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 5. Behold, the days to come, saith the Lord, that I will raise unto David a righteous branch.
See, I will raise unto David a righteous branch.
And a king shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth.
Who's that? Yahawashi. Right? You can also go to Isaiah chapter 4. Right? Let's get that in Isaiah chapter 4. And I believe that's verse 4. Right? Isaiah chapter 4 and let's see, Salakia. Is that what I want?
You got Isaiah 11 and 1.
Yeah, Isaiah 11 and 1. 4 and 2. Isaiah chapter 4 and 2. And that day shall the branch of the Lord be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the earth shall be excellent and comely for them that are escaped of Israel. So these are all precepts to show you that Yahawashi is that branch. So when we say that, we're not just making it up. Right? The brother also said Isaiah chapter 11. All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 11 and 1. I know we're moving fast, but, you know, if you don't have the notes, we'll give it to you after. All right? Kind of pressed for time. This is Isaiah 11 and 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. So in Zechariah chapter 6, this branch that is making reference to is Yahawashi. All right? So let's go back to that in Zechariah 6 and 12. Zechariah chapter 6 and 12. And speaking to him, saying, thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, behold, the man whose name is the branch, and he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. So who's building the temple? Yahawashi, right? You have Zerubbabel building the temple. Who's building the temple now? Yahawashi. The same building, laying the same foundation, doing the same thing he did when he was Solomon, building the temple, building the temple, building the temple of the Lord. Let's read on. Verse 13. Even he shall build the temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne. And he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. Right? So Yahushua is a priest and a king. Well, let me finish King Salaki. And the crown shall be to Helam, and to Tobijah, and to Jedaiah, and to Hen, the son of Zephaniah, for a memorial at the temple of the Lord. And they that are far off shall come and build in the temple of the Lord, and ye shall know that the Lord of hosts hath sent me unto you, and this shall come to pass if ye will diligently obey the voice of the Lord your God. So it says, they that are far off are going to come and build in the temple. Who is that talking about? Gentile Israelites that are far off. We're going to be hired and employed to come build in the same temple laid by Yahawashi, who is the cornerstone for the temple. You got something, King?
Yeah, I was just asking, what tribe was
Judah, right? He's in the genealogy of Matthew, the first chapter.
And it says the priest upon his throne.
Right. So that's showing you again that Yahawashi is a priest, but after the order of Melchizedek. That's why it says in Revelation on his head were many crowns, because the priests wear a crown too, right? Over his diadem, and the king wears a crown. So that's twofold. Take down the other nations, and he has these dual offices of being a king and a priest. That's why all throughout Zechariah or Haggai, you'll see Zerubbabel and Joshua always mention one and the same together, because they serve as a dual function, foreshadowing Yahawashi's offices of being a high priest and being a king over Israel. That's something else. All right, we went over Melchizedek, we went over Zerubbabel, went over Solomon. You can read about the life coming as Yahushua all throughout the Gospels. Right? Maybe we can go over Adam next week if it be the will of the Lord. Yeah, we went over Isaac as well. Right? So that's why Yahushua said again in Hebrews 10:7. Let's read it. All right, let me get that real quick in Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 7. And we always come back on the earth, huh? Man always comes back on the earth. All right, let's go to that in Hebrews chapter 10. It reads, that's in 2nd Ezra 1 and 38. We would have to, we had time. Hebrews 10:7. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will, O God. Right? We got another precept. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 8. Proverbs chapter 8 and verse, right? Proverbs 8 and 22. This Solomon talking about wisdom, right? But he's speaking himself. It says, the Lord possessed me in the beginning of his way, before his works of old. I was set up from everlasting, from the beginning, or ever the earth was. So Yahushua was before the earth was. When there was no depths, I was brought forth, and there was no fountains abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills was I brought forth. While as yet he had not made the earth, nor the fields, nor the highest part of the dust of the world. When he prepared the heavens, I was there. When he set a compass upon the face of the depth, when he established the clouds above, when he strengthened the fountains of the deep, when he gave to the sea his decree that the waters should not pass, it's like it should not pass his commandment, when he appointed the foundations of the earth. Then I was with him as one brought up with him. I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the habitable part of the earth, and my delight were with the sons of men. So that's showing you again that the Lord, he deals constantly with man all throughout the scriptures, because that's Solomon speaking. You got something, King? Yeah, 2nd Ezra 6 and 1 on down show that Yahushua created everything. All of the angels and all of the chariots and all of the spirits.
Finish that off. Proverbs 8.
Verse 32. Now therefore hearken unto me, O ye children, for blessed are they that keep my ways. Hear instruction and be wise, and refuse it not. Blessed is the man that heareth me, watching daily at my gates and waiting at the posts of my doors. So you got to be in this thing daily, man. You can't just watch for wisdom once a week, man. You got to be in this thing every day. You got brothers say, show me where I got to read the Bible every day, where I got to study it. That's what the Lord said, man. And you become more blessed when you watch daily at his gates, right? Meaning you waiting for wisdom to come in and come out. You know, it says, for whoso findeth me findeth life and shall obtain favor of Yahweh. But he that sinneth against me wrongeth his own soul. All they that hate me love death. See that? If you hate wisdom, you hate instruction, you hate Yahawashi, what you want love? Death. You got something, Michael?
Matthew 12:42.
You got to speak up, King.
Matthew 12:42. It says, the queen of the south shall rise up in the judgment with the generations and shall consume it. The most parts of the earth to hear the wisdom of Solomon, and behold, a greater than Solomon is here.
See that? A greater than Solomon was here. All right, who's the greater Solomon? Yahawashi. All right. Well, with that, we're gonna close up. Come your show. Take a quick intermission. Shalom.
Shalom.
I got a quick question.
Bring it up.
So then